Observer. Got a very special guest on with me today. His name is Brian Vollmer. He is the founder, lead singer, just general band leader of the group Helix, which is a very famous Canadian band, in case you didn't know that. Here in the States, these guys probably didn't get as much airplay as they should have. But I remember a track called Heavy Metal Love that we used to play a bit when I was over at my rock station when I worked there for quite some time. How are you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing great, David. A little correction ago, we actually did better in the United States than we did in Canada.
Get out of here.
Sales-wise. Heavy Metal Love, which came out in 1983, was a huge hit on MTV, which was the first year for MTV. And then after that, we had Rock You, which got a lot of video play as well. And then Deep Cuts the Knife, which was off Long Way to Heaven, actually achieved double breaker status in the United States for the band. In other words, what double breaker status meant was that you were being played in your format on AOR radio, and 2/3 of all stations in the United States were simultaneously playing that song. It was a huge hit for us. So different songs did different things. The song that sold the most records was Rock You and Heavy Metal Love. But the song that actually got the most airplay was Deep Cuts the Knife. And we did many tours in the United States. Our first tour in the U.S. started off with Molly Hatchet and Blackfoot, and then we switched to the Motorhead Another Perfect Day tour in 1984 on Walking the Razor's Edge. I think it was ICM was our booking agency at the time. They put us out with White Snake and Quiet Riot, and that was all 20,000 seat halls all across the U.S. Wow. Fantastic tour for the band. In '85, when we came out with Long Way to Heaven, we were on tour with Keel and Accept. Ironically, I have a interview with Ron Keel this week.
Nice.
Sometime, and we still remain friends over all these years. So we actually sold a lot of records in the United States. We probably sold 1 million records in the United States. But compared to other bands, maybe that's what you meant. There's a lot of bands that kind of were bubbling under, like Helix, that never quite made it to that top or echelon. Like, you got Motley Crue up here, and then you got the Helixes and LA Guns and all those bands on this level. But I've been very lucky in rock and roll because it's allowed me to make a living doing this and to make money. So I'm pretty happy.
So, but you guys actually started way back in the 70s, right?
We started in 1974 in Kitchener, Ontario, and we earned our spurs, so to speak, on the Canadian bar circuit. We started off in Northern Ontario, and a lot of these places were mining or forestry towns, and pretty rough places to play. Excuse me. I used to get requests for songs thrown at me at my head, taped to ashtrays. And we fought our way out of a lot of these bars. Quite a few more were filled with bikers, Satan's Choice, Hell's Angels, and we'd have run-ins, not because we're looking for run-ins, but just that was the nature of just some of the bars we came into. They were very, let's say, antagonistic towards the band. It's one thing to be afraid or apprehensive on stage because you might screw up a note or maybe sing a little off key. It's quite another to think that your life is in danger.
Well, I guess it was a high risk thing, especially when you're breaking in and nobody knows who you are. And certainly you're probably held to a different standard. People are drinking, they're consuming a lot of alcohol. They want to hear something that they know. I've heard this story over and over, and they're throwing things and they're asking for songs. When did you guys get signed to a record label?
1983, we were signed to Capitol EMI US.
Yeah.
We were never signed to the Canadian label. We were always signed to the US label because Dean Cameron, who was the president of Capitol Records Canada, thought that we would get more attention if we were actually on the American label versus the Canadian label. And so, we always answered to the people at the Tower. The Tower was that big Capitol building down in Sunset Strip. In fact, we had the release party for Wild Streets in the parking lot in front of that the tower, and there's a helicopter overhead, and there's about 2,000 people, and we were being pushed by KNAC, which still exists.
Yeah.
And they brought in Supertramp's PA system and 20 porta pots, and they gave away a Helix motorcycle. And at the time, Capitol had absolutely no intention of pushing that album, but the one floor of the record company didn't talk to the other floor of the record company, and so this floor down here organized a release party and spent $70,000. And this floor up here had no intention of marking the record, and really didn't listen to this floor down here what they were doing.
Wow.
But Capitol EMI doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
On the new record, we have a rap slash song at the beginning of the record called "Story of Helix," and in there we say, "You know what EMI stands for?" And then I answer back every mistake imaginable. But I actually got that from a person at the company when we went over to first play Europe.
Yeah.
I didn't make that up. When somebody from the record company told me that's what on the inside, what they used to call their own company. So I don't feel bad putting that in the song.
I hear you.
Overall, though, Capitol Records and EMI were very good to us. There was a lot of great people at the record company.
Yeah.
Record companies tend to get pillaged and disparaged, but record companies were really the bank, and they had the money behind bands. Nowadays, it's very hard for bands, especially rock bands, to get that support from a record company because they just don't have the money.
Right.
When we were with Capitol Records, money was no object for those guys. Like, they spend $120,000 US on a video, and they had the power to get it on the video channels, on radio.
Right. Well, they had a staff. They had people on the phones calling radio stations and true A&R people that used to do that stuff. Now it doesn't really exist. It's gone.
But I'm old school. So when I'm working with, say, Tom Mathers at Paris Records, Tom will send me 140 radio IDs, and I sit here and I just bang them out one at a time, and it's you get it gets tedious if you let it. But when I'm doing the radio IDs, if, say, a station's called The Bomb, I'll do the radio ID around something like that. But once again, I'm old school, and I've learned that that's what you have to do to market your product, which is your music. And a lot of young bands won't do that, or don't put any pizzazz into it. I was lucky because I was taught to do that things by my manager, William Sipe, and we worked very hard on working radio. We used to be on the phone every day. We'd have a pile of, back then you had to use a pay phone, for God's sakes. We'd have like $20 in quarters, and we'd sit there and just pound it into that pay phone and phone every program director and every station across the United States. And I know bands like Poison used to do the same thing. Triumph. I think Gilmour Triumph took pride in the fact that he had memorized every program and music director of every station in the United States.
That's cool.
And that's coming back, because you have to market your own product nowadays, or you're dead in the water. And the thing I like about Tom Mathers, once again, is that Tom lives and breathes this music. He loves the music. He listens to it. I don't know how people could sell music when they don't listen to damn stuff. And that happens all the time.
Yeah, Paris is a unique record label. There's not a lot going on right now as far as rock, and it's kind of sad because it's a format, that I grew up, as you talked about being a program director. I used to get those phone calls. One day I thought it was a joke, but the lady who was doing traffic sends a call through the production studio, and she's like, "Yeah, this guy Eddie Money is on the phone." I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." I just didn't. At the time, I said, "No way," and it was him. The Brooklyn accent, the whole thing. He's like, "Hey, Davey, thanks for playing my new record. It's amazing, huh?" And he's telling me Richie Zito produced it. It's gonna be the biggest thing you've ever heard. And it was just at that point I said, "Hey, this is pretty cool." But and it happened a few times, so I know what you're talking about. These guys who would work the phones. They would thank people for playing their records. They'd send you promos. They'd send you like a stack of CDs. You know, give away 20 of these on the air this weekend. You know, it's a Helix weekend on, you know, whatever radio station, and that stuff. I don't know. It's because everything is so automated.
People
you know?
forget that even with the internet, everyone loves that personal connection. You know, this whole quarantine or lockdown or whatever you want to call the damn stuff that's happening now with the coronavirus. I keep telling my wife it's doomed to failure because I don't think humans are used to not rubbing shoulders, shaking hands, kissing, hugging, screwing, whatever, right?
Yeah,
it's part of human nature, and to try to keep people apart is such an unnatural thing. But we'll see what happens. I've made some predictions on this. I'll keep to myself, but
maybe you need to come back for another video. I've been, you know, because like I say,
we're working on a new video right now for the Tequila song.
Excellent. Well, tell us about the new record, because Eat, Sleep, Rock. I love the video, by the way. The editing on that video is fascinating. And if MTV were still a thing, that would be a perfect video, because it's very entertaining how I don't know how they even did that. Maybe you can explain it.
Well, to do the video, we slowed it down to half speed, and then we had to mimic the video or mime it at half speed. So instead of going 3 minutes and whatever seconds it is, the song at normal speed, you had to be there for over 7 minutes, and you had to be perfectly on time, and you had to double your movement. So even though you were going half time to the song, you were trying to make your movements go faster. And then once that was done, and we did it all separate too, because of coronavirus partially, and because of the distance between all of us. I live in London, Ontario. Daryl is up in the peninsula, like around St. Catherine. So, you know, we're 2.5 hours apart. So we each came in separately to Brent Durner's, who's filming it, place in Kitchener, Ontario, and he had a green screen, and separately we went through the parts. And once everybody did the part, then Brent put them all on one stage. He brought it up to normal speed, and at that point, then he has special programs where he changed the perspective so he can swing around the band, for instance. Or he has another effect called an earthquake effect, where it actually shakes the picture. We use that in the middle 8 of the song. And just the performance of the band members was extraordinary in this song. And it introduced Gary Borden, once again, our new member. So that's how we put together that video. When we do videos nowadays, we're dealing with a lot less money. So, and there's no payback. You don't get any money back in a video. So my perspective on videos is that they're like mini commercials for the band. Even though you might not hear Helix on the radio a lot, you can see us a lot on the internet. And I work with a lot of internet interviewers like yourself, or internet webzines. And we use those little videos that we do to keep us in the public eye, so to speak, and to let fans know we're still out there, because otherwise we disappear. And so we got that new video out, and now we're on to the Tequila song. And that's going to take a lot of preparations, because it's being shot in about 5 locations. And once again, we're doing this on low dough. You're working on very little money. So you're asking people to donate their time. And even the big bands like that are still releasing video, once again, there's no payback on a video. So you're not going to get the record company to spend 120 G's like you used to back in the days of Capital EMI. You're looking at the company going, I'm not spending a cent in this, so you have to take it all out of your own pocket. And I don't mind that, because I was always taught by my ex-manager, William Sipe, to invest back in your business. So I've used that old corny thing to keep Helix going all these years, and I've always reinvested in photographs, even in lean times. And right now it's lean times, because all our live dates fell apart, and those are where we really make our money. Releasing music nowadays is really a vanity project. You don't make money on it. If I were to spend as much time and focus on I don't know, say working on my rental properties, which is my other, I
Yeah,
make money. I'd
sure.
probably be a very wealthy man. But
Yeah,
music is what I do. Writing songs, performing, being in the studio, doing videos, meeting exciting people that you see on TV and hear on the radio.
yeah,
Can't put a price on those things. It's like that credit card commercial, priceless. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah. I got you.
that's why I do this,
Yeah.
and I love it. And as long as I can do it and not lose large amounts of money, I'm still here.
Yeah, and now because you guys can't, do gigs, do live gigs, that's gotta really hurt right now.
Well, I always think God takes care of me. As
Yeah,
long as you keep going forward and keep working, and God ain't going to help anybody that's sitting on their ass on the sofa. You
true.
have to be active in moving forward. We just licensed a Heavy Metal Love, for instance, to a CBC show called Trickster. So that
Yeah,
brought a little bit of money for
good.
me. And, um, you know, uh, other stuff is going to, we're using this downtime really to get caught up in stuff that normally we wouldn't have time to do, i.e., work on a new studio album.
Right, good.
We're about 3 songs deep in that. To do new promo shots like we did on Sunday, and all that stuff that keeps the boring stuff that happens in the
Yeah,
back to keep this business called Helix going.
yeah. I mean, so you'll just keep doing this, you said, until you get tired of doing it. You ever think of just retiring from the music business? Especially with
I
what's
don't
going
think
on.
I could retire because I can't sit still for more than a couple of days at a time.
Yeah,
And uh, I also teach bel canto, which is the old Italian method of singing. I stumbled on it quite by accident around
yeah,
1976. I had nodes on my vocal cords, which is usually the death of singers, because
yeah,
once you have nodes, you're limited to maybe 3 or 4 notes around a middle C where you talk, and you lose all your top range and bottom range. It's quite common with singers. That's what
yeah,
Adele had. That's what Rod Stewart, Elton John, all those people.
yeah,
And in the case of Adele, she had them operated on with a laser, and what they did, but she's not touring anymore. She
yeah,
feels weak, and she says when she sings. Julie Andrews, they destroyed her voice. She never sang again. And Joan Rivers
yeah.
died at the operating table because they gave her too much anesthetic. So
Right.
I wouldn't advise anybody to go get their notes off their vocal cords.
Wow.
However, if you learn how to sing properly using bel canto, which is the oldest method of singing in the world, which was started by Leonardo da Vinci, by the way, um, you shouldn't get nodes. Nodes are essentially a callus, like you
Yeah.
get on your hand on
Yeah.
your vocal cords. That's all they are.
Wow. So you're shooting another video for this album. It's on Paris Records. You guys had a bit of a downtime right during the '90s, like all bands of your genre for the most part. That music scene hit. I talk about it a lot on my channel. Were you guys recording? Was it done at that time for you, or
No,
what did you
we were
think?
still playing up here in Canada, and we were still recording. In 1993, I think we released "It's a Business Doing
Yeah.
Pleasure" on Aquarius Records, which um, was kind of a right angle turn for us. It should have
Yeah.
really been a solo album. After that, we released Half Alive and D Rock, which came out worldwide. Uh,
Yeah.
and then they absconded with about, I don't know, 50 grand worth of our money.
Right.
Uh, um, we had Rockin' in My Outer Space. We also had my solo album When Pigs Fly. So that all happened during the 90s. We had a lot of membership changes. I was struggling to keep the band together.
Yeah.
Everybody considered me a loser and a has-been. I was working in a friggin' like a variety store, and I got beat up one night, and another night somebody tried to break in through the ceiling. I called the cops, and they came with the canine unit. And the damn dog bit me in the chest. So I
Wow.
wasn't a very good time in my life. People come into the store and say, "Hey, aren't you the singer of Helix?" And I go, "Yeah." Then they want to see my driver's license, and
Yeah.
it was just a very humbling experience, let's say. And
Yeah.
but through adversity, a lot of people get strength.
Sure.
In German, there's an old saying: "A hammer shatters steel, and for a hammer shatters glass rather and forges steel." And it's really true. When some people are forced with adversity in their life, they become stronger. Other people, they shatter like glass. In my case, I survived. I was lucky, and I, out of the 90s with all those membership changes, and you know, we have people coming in the band that had no respect for the history of the band and what we went through, and you know, sleeping in cold rooms and freezing buses and you know, all that stuff. And I came out of it, and then in 2008 the original band got back together, minus of course Paul, who was killed around 1991, I believe. And we proceeded after that with Caleb for many years, and Brent quit in about 2014, and Chris Julke joined the band. So we have a real solid lineup now in the band. Gary just joined, but Gary was in the band during the 90s, and he plays with Daryl up in the Peninsula all the time. And most importantly with Gary, not only is he a fantastic guitar player and singer, he was with Sash Jordan for many years.
Yeah.
But his personality fits the band. We've had players in the band that were amazing players, but personality-wise, real clash.
Yeah.
And when you're out there, believe me, it's hard enough without some asshole tagging along, right? So we got a great lineup now. We all have a blast every time we go out and play, if we ever get to playing again. So enough said.
Yeah, so maybe next year you guys can book some gigs, and at the very least you'll be recording another studio album, which is you know, I guess it's what a lot of musicians are doing right now. They're hunkering down. There's probably going to be a whole bunch of new music coming out next year by pretty much everybody, because what else are you going to do? I'm just hoping that, you know, radio and people embrace your music, because again, this is becoming a bit of a lost art form. I don't want to, you know, say that Gene Simmons is a prophet or anything like that, but there is a part of me that I do this every day. I do videos, I check news, I check all the websites, and it's very dull and very repetitive. And the bands that are out there, you know, on mainstream active rock radio, just for the most part, they suck, you know. And I'd like to hear music like Helix and the bands that I grew up listening to. I'd like to hear that style return, you know, but you know, I'm not going to hold my breath about it.
Well, I think there's still a lot of good music on the radio, but we'll be out there, and
Yeah,
it's like just like blues. People that follow blues, you know, that if they were into blues, they pick up Willie Nelson and Sonny and Brownie McGee and
yeah,
all blues artists. Right now, there's metal people that follow 90s metal / rock, and they're out there, and there's thousands of them, and they got
yeah.
disposable income.
They
So
do. That is true. Well, I
that's the
always said
difference
about,
between following in the 80s and following in 2020. And in 1984, most of the people who followed the band had like $2 in their pocket. So
right.
nowadays, but that's the thing, right? We do things in smaller quantities, but people don't mind paying money to see the band and to buy the merchandise and to buy the music if they're really into it.
All right. Well, listen, Brian, I don't want to keep you. I know you got an interview coming up with
I
Sweden
just
Rock.
want to say one last thing before I go. This is the Norseman. This is my buddy Gears band from Norway. They're coming out with an album on Paris Records, and fantastic music. So
What's it sound like? What's the style?
well, it's let's say European rock,
All
but
right.
it's kind of like Humbucker times 10.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you, Brian, for coming on the show today, and I wish you the best with the new album. And
to put on my real ones.
yeah, and
Now I can see.
And this album that you got currently, it's called Eat, Sleep, Rock, and it's out via Paris Records, great record label here in the United States. And it's kind of weird that you guys are from Canada and that you're more popular here. I guess it's just, you know, I don't know. Your history is a little different. A lot of these Canadian bands that I listened to as a kid, like April Wine, they were always more popular up in Canada than they were here. So
Yeah.
I guess it's just the way you guys signed with Capitol and so forth. Which again, the record label of the Beatles, I guess you can't go wrong there. So, you know.
Well, I should go.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thanks for being on.
You're welcome. Take